Good afternoon. My name is Scott Redler, Chief Strategic Officer at T3Live.com. Welcome to today's recap. I'll look ahead. I'm just going to get right into it because there's a lot going on. We came in today. You had earnings from Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, and Netflix. The question was, bank stocks that were red, were they basically sold down enough from the day JP Morgan and those guys sold in order to rally? So I was buying a little Goldman and Bank of America early, and they had a decent move from negative to positive. And then they just faltered and the banks were pressured all day. So make some, salvage some, move on. I'll show you those charts. As far as Netflix had a gap up, came in like $2 or maybe $3 in the first 5 to 15 minutes. We talk about if it pulls in the first 5 minutes and puts in a pivot low versus the gap, you could then buy it to see whether or not you have a strong day and close strong, or you have to wait till the next few days to see what the real direction is. Well, Netflix not only put a low in the first 5 minutes, it grinded higher all day, and then if you were focused on other high beta tech names, a lot of them triggered above key areas, so it turned into a great trade. But you had the haves and the have-nots. Then you also had a few sectors struggling that we're not quite sure yet. So you got to be very specific in earnings season. So you go right to the chart of the S&P cash. S&P cash still looks really good. Why does it look really good? Well, pulled in, tested around the 8-day moving average, and held. Okay, is it a false sense of security? I don't know. Well, it's telling me is that last time we had a level that we were banging on, we held, and then you had this descending channel here, broke above it, and now we're doing some work above this 24. What was the low here today? 2450. So the longer we stay above this 2450, the higher the probability we can continue. But it's going to be hard to continue if we keep losing sectors. Not saying we lost the financials, but the XLF is now below. Actually, no. You know what it held here? I didn't even see that. Didn't get below Friday's low. So something's holding up the financials in here, so it's still hanging on by a thread. I guess we saw it hang on by a thread here. We saw it take out the descending trend line there. So if you happen to be still in the financials, I guess you could be using 2459 that never got stopped out, and we'll see if another upper channel builds, and I guess you could even draw a line like this, which it's still above after all is said and done and all the hoopla. I'm not in any of them. Goldman Sachs, to me, this is an ugly candle. At least it gave us a way out. What do I mean by that? Well, you know what, I started buying it around 226 this morning, went as high as almost 230, was able to sell some, and then it just failed. And now you have somewhat of a trend line here you have to be very careful with. This is what you call an ascending channel. Ascending channels typically get broken to the downside. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. Here's the accelerated trend line, broke below the 8 and the 21 day. So to me, it's been choppy as all what, but this made it even more of an avoid. Bank of America also, I tried early. It was actually heavier than Goldman Sachs. Just, I don't know. It's not much to say here except for I guess you could say it held the 50-day, but it's below the 8, below the 21 day, so see if that holds. Some would say it's, I guess, a little bit constructive still. You have a low or higher low. Now, is this another higher low? I just think it's going to be, nothing too compelling. Right now, the compelling trades and the fast money trades have been in high beta tech. If you look at Netflix had a big gap up and then just took off. So, that's why I say give it to the 5-15 minute area, to trade against it. First of all, if you traded it after hours, wow, what a nice trade. If you were quick, you were able to buy it above 167 without taking the event risk. And then even today, you had the the luxury of maybe buying versus this 174, went as high as 184. That's $10 without the event risk. If you look at the 5-minute chart, you'll see how you could have done it. Right here, the 5-minute low was right there. Look at that. 5-minute low was put in around 174.24. I think some people made actually cute money shorting it, but that's not where the real money was. And then here, you had a higher low. So you might not even bought there. You could have bought here around 176 and said, I'm going to give it to 174. And if it takes out the opening range, you'll add to it. And then boom, move all the way up straight to about 83 above the 8-day moving average. So you did not have to take the stock into earnings in order to have a good strategy to be buying here versus a spot and then adding versus a spot and then trimming trailing it the entire way until it did not a whole lot of nothing. I did not trade Netflix. I focused on Amazon. Amazon wound up giving us a trade I've been looking for finally. What have I been looking for? Well, first, we were on fast money, and I talked about it here. Okay, how would it hold that gap? And that if it could hold this gap after Prime Day, not get sold down. Chances are it makes a new high of above 1,015 and went as high as 1,024. I do think you get some continuation. It's been hugging the 8-day. Hopefully it extends a little bit. There was a guy on TV talking about a hearing about antitrust, but not that I'm an antitrust lawyer, but that's to, I'm not going to get in the whole thing. The guy sounded like I was ready to, but anyway, Amazon drives prices down. It drives innovation. It's been a trend for a decade, and yes, there are some companies that are not doing as well because they didn't come up with the times, etc. But it is what it is. I think Amazon looks good, and I'm going to try and stay with it. I'm still long some overnight. Facebook's been an absolute animal. It broke out, one of the first few to do a pre-earnings run, went sideways, and then today some guys caught another trade. When would they have done it? When it crossed above the little flag resistance. And now, it's a little extended. Hard to be initiated and hard to short, but you know what? It's been, what a move. Same thing goes Google. I haven't been trading it. You don't have to trade everything. But, it too took back all the moving averages right around here and then held it. And then today, perked up. And I guess it could work its way back towards the highs. So if you had short in the brain, you should have taken short off the brain right here when it reclaimed that spot or reclaimed the 50-day. You could have saved yourself some money. As far as, other names, what's it called? Baba, and let's go into some Chinese names. Baba's acting very well. After taking the day off yesterday, it engulfed it all today. Still looks good. Yes, it's had a major run, but it doesn't mean it's a short. We talked about buying it versus 140, adding when it took out 145, and now it looks like it's going to continue. Just keep trading with it if you're whatever, if you're active there. I was very active during this part of the trend and somewhere in here, but I'm not in this now. I actually bought Momo today. It's interesting just because I like the setup better. I like tight setups, and this to me looks like you could be a buyer, which I was today, and then hopefully tomorrow there's a way to add above 42 for it to continue. Looks pretty good. JD, I also got involved a little bit. I remember I was talking to my friends from Wall Street Media when it was all the way down here about playing a breakout or somewhere around here, and I know now it's a lot higher, but the trend's still intact. You're holding the 8-day moving average. It broke above this flag, closed near the high, so maybe you get a little follow through to the upside. Baidu, I'm in the options because the stock is loose and wide. They made an announcement with Microsoft today. We'll see what happens here. I bought the options for earnings and for September because I do think at some point this gets taken out to the upside. It's just a matter of how and when, but it doesn't trade that well, and if it does, we could get paid pretty handsomely on options if it gets a move up towards 220. Then lastly, I'm just going to touch on energy. I did go over it in CMB Futures. Now they wanted to talk about energy and the rally in crude and what does that mean for the XLE, so I gave them my best opinion. I told them that I think the XLE has a lot to prove, but at some point it might clear this, descending trend line. It's been rejected and rejected and rejected at the 50-day. How many times are they going to be able to do it? Well, they've been able to do it for almost the entire year. So now we'll see what happens next. Does it hold in here and go sideways and then take it out and give you an alpha trade for the summer, or does it fail again and make new lows? I am in some. I am going to be giving it to this little pivot here, which is 64.44. Okay, if it could hold above this, go sideways, and then take this out, I don't know what's going to be the catalyst, and gets to 50-day, maybe you could add to it and go, but again, I wouldn't be so enamored with this trade. It's just sometimes a descending trend line turns into a nice little swing trade into resistance, but it doesn't have to happen. The trend is your friend until it's not. And that's it. I have to get going. Okay, what I think you should do is just manage your positions, stay comfortable, trade these earnings the way you like. You could have traded them after hours. You could have traded them actually this morning with the plan. I go over that plan with Redler All Access. I go over it in my big videos. And what you should look out for is my private paid Twitter feed. It's different than this one. It's going to be very cheap. We're going to give you a link, and you'll be able to follow more closely what I'm doing all day long if I plan to be in it more than just a quick scalp or a Q cash flow trade. If I think it's a good swing trade that I might be in for the day, I might be in overnight, you know what, I'm going to tweet about it, and you can get that information to you for a very low price. So look for that link, and it should be coming out soon. Have a great evening.